Hello Africa, and welcome to the new year 2020. I hope your holidays were as good as mine. 2019 was a great year, I believe, and I know you are looking forward to some great content from us here. Trust me when I say we have so much in store for you this year. You are watching the CGC show on AAU TV. AAU TV is the voice of higher education in Africa, and of course the CGC show is your trusted pathway to your dreams. As usual, we are coming to you live from our headquarters here in Ghana of the Association of African Universities, and my name is Adjoa Omie. Today, we will be discussing photography as a career path, and my guest is already seated, but I'll introduce him after we go on a break. Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles at AAUTV_African Universities on Twitter, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and at AAUTV Official on Instagram. Stay with us, we'll be back after the break.
One of the oldest universities in Sudan is the University of Khartoum. It is endowed with a lot of wildlife, and it comes as no surprise that the university has a zoo and a flourishing school farm. The zoo houses different types of reptiles, mammals and birds such as different breeds of snakes, monkeys, tortoises, crocodiles and many more. The university farms located at different parts of Sudan boast of exotic plants and animals. The agronomy and the horticultural departments have different varieties of plants and flowers, as well as well-equipped laboratories. On the farm are also cattle that supplies the dairy and the meat needs of the university and its communities, as well as other animals such as camels and donkeys. The university zoo and the farms are a must visit for everyone visiting the University of Khartoum.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, you are watching the CGC show on AAU TV. And like I said, we are discussing photography as a career path. And I have here with me Mr. KDavid, who is a photographer and he's actually into audiovisuals. And he'll be helping us to talk about photography as a career. Welcome on the show, KDavid.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Adjoa. It's good to be here.
Yeah. And I believe you had very great holidays.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
It was busy. A lot of work.
Lots of work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a festive season, so people will be calling you here and there to do shoots for them and all that.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
When we say photography, what does it entail? What does it entail?
Well, I think that fundamentally it's important to understand that the word photography comes from two words. It's from photo, which means light. And then graphy, which means art or drawing, so literally photography is the art of drawing using light. Okay, so basically what you're doing is that the camera has been designed to capture images based on light that's available. Okay, so everything you see, I mean, just to do a little bit of a science background here, everything you see is based on light bouncing off objects into your eyes, and photography basically is based on that principle. And so if the lighting is good, the picture usually is good. If the lighting is bad, the picture usually is bad, so it's understanding light. If you understand light, you can do good pictures. Yeah.
I would want you to tell me more about yourself. I know you to be a photographer, but then what exactly do you do?
Okay, so I do a lot of different things. But specifically regarding photography, I am a photographer, a pure photographer, but I also direct videos as well. So I run a company that does audiovisuals. So we do everything from photography, graphic design, retouching images. We shoot videos. We do productions for organizations, individuals, depending on what it is. And as far as the photography is concerned, we do everything from food photography to travel photography, architecture, interiors, the full range, everything. Yeah.
What informed your decision to be a photographer?
Well, It's an interesting story because basically I was at a crossroads in my life, and I went to seek advice from a mentor.
Okay.
And she suggested that since I had a camera and I was playing around taking pictures in church, why don't I turn that into a business?
So you started in church.
Now, well, here's the thing. Let me tell you how it happened. So I got given a camera by my brother-in-law at the time, right?
Okay.
And it was more like, oh, I have this camera sitting in the house. It's not doing anything. Maybe you'll find something useful to do with it, right? And
Yeah.
so literally that's how it was. Now, when I got the camera, I was actually quite disappointed because in my mind, I was expecting a camera I could do videos with.
Okay.
And it was a still camera. So in my disappointment, I packed the camera in the back of the room somewhere and just ignored it. So I was very involved in a lot of church activities at the time, and I thought to myself, why don't I just take pictures to help the pastor in his work, right? Because he's doing a lot of work. I lived in Tamale at the time.
Okay.
So he's doing a lot of work out here, but there's no pictorial evidence of the work he's doing. So why don't I take it upon myself, since there's a camera sitting there doing nothing?
Okay.
Take pictures and help him out. That's my motivation. So it was his wife who had actually seen me do this, and she used to run an NGO at the time. So she was the one I went to for advice. So then she said, look, you've been taking pictures in church. Why don't you turn that into a business? I was very disappointed and disheartened by the advice.
Why?
Yeah, because I had graduated a few years earlier with a degree in biochemistry. You know, and back then, people who had been to university didn't do photography.
Of course.
So it was like, oh wow, is this how low my life has sunken? Now I have to do photography to survive, kind of thing. So it was, but I immediately, when I left her office, I was driving down the road on one of the highways in Tamale, and I saw a billboard. So if you remember the original billboards by Glow, the mobile company, Glow, it had all these celebrities on the billboards. Asamoah Gyan,
Jackie Appiah.
Jackie Appiah was even later because that was the second batch.
Okay.
The original group was Junior Agogo, Asamoah Gyan, Kobna, and so on. So when I saw the billboard, I remembered the photo shoot for the billboards a year earlier. Interestingly, one of my photography mentors had invited me because I was doing nothing on a Monday morning, and he said, come and assist me on the photo shoot. I had never been to a photo shoot before. and I'm talking about, this is 2007. Okay, so you can imagine how long ago this was, right? Back then, photography wasn't what it is today. So I had gone to assist him, and I remember the whole emotion of the day, all these celebrities that you've only heard of, and then suddenly they're all packed in a room, and you're right, it's not like they're far away, right? Where you and I are, this, and everybody's hanging around. And guess who was the boss of the day? The photographer. He was in charge, directing everybody, do this, do that, do this, I want you to stand this way. So when I was driving back from my mentor's office, and that advice, turn it into a business, right? I saw the billboard, I suddenly remembered that day, and I thought to myself, you know what? I can do this thing. Yeah, this photography, I can do
That's what inspired.
So that's what inspired me, the memory from a year earlier, and I thought to myself, this thing is not as bad as, initial, because the initial mind of photography was walking through the hot Tamale sun with a printer under my arm.
Like those times.
Yeah, and a camera, a camera swung on my shoulder and a printer under my arm, and hustling for people to say, take a picture of me and then I'll print it right for you, right there for you, you know. So that was the picture I had in my mind. And I was like, no way, I can't do that. You know, but when I saw the billboard, then I remember that whole, you know, experience that I had a year earlier. And I thought I could do this. So I went to see my mentor and I said, listen, I'm doing this thing.
Wow.
He said, well, if you're serious, you do well.
Definitely.
And when he said, if you're serious, you do well, I said, if that's all it takes to do well, is to be serious. That's it. I've decided. I'm serious. No jokes. I'm going to do this. And that's it. 11 years down the line, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you learn about the editing and stuff? Because you can't just take a picture and send it to somebody.
No.
You would need to do some touches.
Yeah.
How did you?
So it's a work in progress, right?
Okay.
And it takes you know, different decisions at different junctions of the career path.
Yeah.
So initially it was just about taking the pictures, making sure that you have good images. One of the things he said to me early on was, try as much as possible the image that you're looking for, get it in the camera.
Okay.
Don't look to tweak images on the computer. Get it in the shot. Okay. So it made me very early on pay attention to detail of what I was seeing in the camera. And I think that's very critical because even though we have, photography is a process, right? I think that what has happened today in terms of, and I'm sure we'll get to that, you know, where you have tablets and phones and all of that, and people want instant images, right? Photography is a process.
Okay.
The beginning is the clicking of the camera, but that's just the beginning.
Okay.
All right. There's also the tweaking of the image to give you what you initially pictured in your mind.
Okay.
Right. Now, unfortunately, most people, because we've been spoiled by the cameras and the tablets and so on, we actually don't understand that photography is a process. And so most people don't start out with an image in mind. It's just like, oh, let me just stand here, take a picture.
Yeah.
You know, and then whatever comes out, comes out. You know, it's like, oh, it's not a good picture. But what were you thinking about at the beginning? What did you have in mind in the first place? You see? So that's, for me, that's where it starts, in the mind. What picture do you have in your mind? Right? And that's why sometimes you go to, let's say, a wedding, for example, and you see a photographer who is very passionate and very creative, lying on the floor, taking a picture. Because there's a picture in his or her mind.
Okay.
Right? And the only way to create that image in the mind that is there, the angle is from as low down as on the ground. Wow. That's why they do that.
Okay.
You see, because there's something up here. And in order to get it, sometimes what happens is that you get a gadget, a camera that has a flip, you know, back view of the camera, right?
Okay.
So you can flip the lens. So that way you don't need to go all the way to the ground. You can lower the camera down to the ground, turn the viewfinder that you can actually see your shot without putting your head down there.
So it's all about the tools too.
It's about the tools as well.
Okay.
Right? But you see, if you know where you're going here, you choose your tools. As for the tools, there's a million of them. Yeah,
I know a couple of photographers who would be like, okay, today I'm not using this particular lens, I'm going with this. Okay,
absolutely.
So it is the image they want to create. Yes. They base on that to select which tool will be appropriate.
Absolutely.
Oh,
so sometimes you go to an event, for example, you can use only one lens and shoot the entire event with just one lens.
Wow.
If you know what you're doing. Okay, but it's more important. Let me say at this point that every time, I don't know if you like cooking, but if for somebody who loves to cook, usually they'll cook a really nice meal, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're complimenting the meal, do you think of the pots and the cooker or the person?
The person.
It's the person.
Yeah.
Why is it that in photography we always think of the camera and in the other tools as opposed to the photographer? Because it's a process.
Okay.
You know, and if you don't think of photography as a process, then you imagine that it's the equipment. But it's not the equipment. Of course, when you're a good photographer, you know which tools to use to get your final product. But that's what it is. So at the end of the day, it's not so much the tools as it is the person. The more you develop yourself as a photographer, the better your outcomes will be.
Okay.
And the more you know which tools to choose and all of that. Along the line, you learn about editing, you learn about retouching of images. You know, sometimes they'll do retouching and then the person looks like a plastic doll.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing, right? Yeah. So you learn what to do, what not to do. I, for example, am a big believer in let's all benefit from the industry. So, for example, I don't do retouching. I can do a little bit of retouching. I choose not to do retouching.
Okay.
Because I said to myself years ago, I said, look, there are people who know retouching much better than I do.
Yeah.
Why don't they benefit from the fact that I have a business and I can sublet that part of my business to them?
Yeah.
Right. So I have about 2 or 3 people who retouch my pictures. When I do the work, I've charged the client for the job.
Okay.
I send off the images to them. The business that came to me also feeds somebody else.
Definitely.
I believe in that. You know, so, yeah.
Wow. Let's pause here and go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll let him highlight some of the challenges he's encountered and any other thing. Please stay with us.
4 years ago, like most young people, I was clueless as to what I wanted to do and which institution would help me realize a great career. What better place to pursue this dream than Blue Crest College? With state-of-the-art lecture halls and experienced lecturers, as well as equipped computer labs, Blue Crest is indeed the right starting point. With certificate, diploma and degree programs in information technology, business administration, journalism, oil and gas, Blue Crest is the one-stop institute for everyone who is looking to have a great career. Enroll now. Visit www.bluecrest.edu.gh or call any of the numbers on the screen. Blue Crest College. Education for life.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, you are watching the CGC show on AAU TV, and we have been discussing photography as a career path with Mr. Kwaku David, and he has told us how he decided to do photography and all that there is. Let me just go straight to the point. What are some of the areas of expertise when it comes to photography in terms of courses that people would need to study and anything, any skill?
All right. I come from the school of thought that says it's an industry that you need on the job training.
Okay.
No amount of book knowledge will make you an expert in photography. It's like learning how to swim by reading a book. How do you learn how to swim by reading a book? You can't.
Yeah.
No matter how much you read the book, you have to jump in the pool. Same thing.
Definitely.
Photography is on the job. Get to it. Take the camera, start taking the pictures. No matter how many books you've read, you will never be a good photographer if you don't pick up the camera and start shooting. You learn. It's a skill that is in your hands. Okay, and it's a skill that you have to be able to coordinate what it is you picture in your mind with the tools that are available in the camera, right? So there's things like zooming in and out.
No, okay.
How fast can you zoom in and out to get the shot that you want to get? Because sometimes the shot is a fleeting moment. You're shooting at an Independence Square, right?
Yeah.
The president is doing his march past, but you know the march past is not on foot. The march past is in a vehicle, right? You have a picture in your mind. You see horses are following the president.
Yeah.
You want to get a shot where you see the president waving. At the same time, you want to see the soldiers lined up in the shot and saluting as he's passing them. And then you want to see also horses in the background as they are galloping behind the president's convoy. There's a moment where the president is you know he's about to wave. Because he doesn't wave the entire time.
Yeah.
He's about to wave. And usually in the moment of the wave, he's smiling. You want that moment where the smile breaks out. Not before, not after. You have to be ready. The timing of it is everything. Otherwise, you will not get the shot.
Yeah.
You see, it's not just about, oh, let's take a picture. No, it's about timing. So in that moment, if you're not ready, you lose the picture. But there is a moment when it happens. These are processes. You can't learn this from a book.
Definitely.
There is no book that has been written that will teach you these things. You see. So when you ask the question about the study of photography and what you need to learn to be able to gain your skills, it's on the field. You know, when you look at the swimming champions, like people like Michael Phelps and so on, who's won so many, I think, I don't know how many, 12 gold medals or how many gold medals he won. There's no book that teaches you those things, you know. So it's the same thing with photography, really. You have to be there. And I think what drives the learning is passion. If you're passionate about it, that's what drives the learning.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to do photography because they don't have a job, that's the wrong motivation for doing photography. You'll never be good at it. You'll be okay. You'll never be good at it. So the reason why you even came in, you won't find the money you're looking for, because you'll never be that good at it. Yeah.
So that alone can discourage you to even stop it.
Oh, of course. And I know many people. I started in 2008. Many people started along the way. Some people even started in 2012. They stopped it a long time ago.
But it's a job that you can actually make you some sort of money from.
Oh, yeah, you can, yeah.
How do you get your clients?
So back in 2010, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who is a web designer.
Okay.
And one of the things that I said to him was, look, I have a feeling a day is going to come. There'll be a lot of people doing photography. And at that time, the key thing would be differentiation, right? And I don't know why I thought those things, but those were thoughts that would come in my head, you know. And so I said to him that I want to build a website.
Okay.
Since we built that website, we've changed it about 4 or 5 times, right? But majority of my work has come from my website and my presence on the internet. Most people that I've worked for, corporate organizations, World Bank, different places, that's all. It's come from internet and presence on the net.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically, you are building your brand on the net.
Well, that's really where
you get the connections.
That's really where I built. Yeah.
Wow.
I built my brand. Yeah.
Interesting. Would you call yourself a detail-oriented person?
Usually, I see the big picture, and sometimes I'm able to figure out, you know, the path I want to go to get to where it is I'm trying to go. But I've also always believed in people assisting along the way, you know. Okay. So I do a lot of collaborations. I do a lot of conversations with people. I believe in mentors big time. I believe in mentors. Really, really believe in talking to mentors and getting advice, you know, because nobody knows everything, you know. So I think in essence, a lot of my clientele, I remember, you know, a number of occasions where I've actually called up people and say, hey, this person called, this company called, have you ever done any work with them? What's your advice? How do I deal with them? Okay. What's your advice? I do that all the time. You know, and I've noticed also that some people also do that with me. They call me up and say, hey, I noticed you did some work 3 years ago, 4 years ago with these people. How are they like? How should I relate to them? You know, and I think that for me, I like to give advice. I like to, you know, help people find their footing. And I believe that's the way the world should work. Yeah.
Going back to your clients, have you encountered a client that has given you difficulty in your production, like in your... photography field.
Absolutely, yeah. So there was one wedding client years ago, must have been 2011, 2012. They came to studio. The practice that we have is that when we finish the wedding, you'll come to studio and select your images, or we will come to you with a laptop and then you select the images you want. Here's the reason. When we design a package, right, and we say that we will give you 300 pictures,
Okay.
right, for your package.
Okay.
We don't shoot 300 pictures. We'll probably shoot 2,000, but your package is 300.
Okay.
And you're choosing, I don't think it's fair for me to choose which 300 you should have. I do have the professional eye, but I'll be choosing only based on an unemotional, technical perspective.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's an emotional event. A wedding is an emotional event.
Yeah.
So you have family members, you have special people, you have people that you hate their guts, you don't want them in your pictures.
Yeah.
I've added them because I don't know that.
Know them, yeah.
You see the thing. So I have to give you the prerogative to choose which 300 images you want from the
Wow.
2,000 that we shot.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand the
Yeah.
idea? So now when this is what we did. So they came to studio, they chose their, and I remember the plenty oohs and ahs that they were doing whilst they were selecting their images. And then I don't know quite what happened. I'm not sure what happened between the time they selected their images and the time we delivered the work. When we delivered the work, the images they chose, we now tweak the pictures, enhance the colors a little bit, so that reds are a little slightly more colorful and so on. Sometimes you can look at a picture and it's nice, but maybe there's too much dark shadows in there. There's a way we process the image to lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
We're not brightening the entire image. It's just the dark sides.
Okay.
We are lightening up a little bit more. So for example, if you have long hair and you have maybe earrings, you can see the earrings nice on one side, but because of the shadow, you're not quite seeing the earring on the other side. So you want to just open up the shadows a little bit so we can just see it, a little. So those are the kinds of things that we do. We don't do skin retouching of wedding pictures. Now, after we did all the processing of the images, we went to deliver. The client says, "I hate the pictures."
Like just like
Yeah,
that.
we don't. This is another pictures. This is not what we paid for. We don't like the pictures.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they were very, very angry, and we were surprised because they selected the images and we remembered all the oohs and ahs and the excitement in this. I have no idea what happened between choosing the pictures and when we delivered the work. So, we literally refunded half the money because they didn't like their pictures.
Wow.
We left the pictures with them, all right, and we refunded half their money. That was just the deal and we just called it a loss and we walked away.
Wow.
From the job.
That's bad.
It's never happened again, but those kind of things will happen.
Yeah.
And, you have to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you too for also tuning in to watch the CGC show on AAU TV. Do follow us on our social media handles at AAUTV_African Universities on Twitter, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and at AAU TV Official on Instagram. If you have any questions, anything that you want to ask about what we discussed today, you can leave them in the comment box or send them via WhatsApp on +233 50 8468, and you have them answered. Do tune in same time next week, and we will come your way with more interesting topics. My name is Adjoa Omie. Enjoy the rest of our programs.